Analysts note that the use of NGOs and aid organizations as cover for such operations could erode trust in legitimate development partnerships across Africa. Diplomatic channels have so far been quiet, but questions are already being asked in major capitals. Was Burkina Faso acting alone in exposing these networks, or were neighboring states aware of similar activities within their own borders? Several governments in the region are now reviewing foreign technology contracts, with some considering emergency audits of telecom providers. For the people of Burkina Faso, the discovery has sparked both shock and resolve. Interviews conducted in the markets of Ouagadougou reveal widespread support for the government's actions. Many citizens expressed anger at the idea that their personal data could have been harvested without consent and used for foreign interests. Others see the operation as a turning point, demonstrating that African nations need not remain passive in the face of technological exploitation. As of now, the 17 sites remain sealed under military guard. Evidence collection is ongoing, and further disclosures are expected in the coming days. This concludes the first part of our coverage, the strike itself. In our next segment, we will investigate the background, 15 years of digital surveillance networks quietly embedded across Africa, and how the raid in Ouagadougou has lifted the veil on what some are now calling emphasized that the operation is unprecedented in scope. Never before has a West African nation publicly dismantled such a vast infrastructure of alleged foreign espionage in a single morning. Eyewitness accounts from residents reported the presence of unmarked black vehicles stationed outside the raided compounds. Helicopters were also sighted above certain districts, particularly near government offices. Videos filmed by citizens began circulating on social media within hours, showing troops removing large electronic equipment, stacks of hard drives, and sealed servers. International news outlets, however, remained largely silent in the immediate aftermath. Western networks carried no breaking coverage of the raids, while regional African outlets filled the gap with rolling updates and live commentary. By midday, hashtags such as #AfricaNotForSale and #OurDataOurChoice were trending on platforms across West Africa. Officials have declined to release the full list of seized items, citing ongoing investigations. Nevertheless, fragments of information have emerged. Among them, 2 million digital profiles recovered from a single data center, fiber optic maps linking regional telecom backbones to overseas relay stations, intercepted cabinet discussions stored in encrypted files, and satellite imagery of resource-rich areas aligned with foreign intelligence dossiers. Colonel Isufu Zongo, a spokesperson for the forces, stated in a press briefing, "What we discovered was not development assistance. It was systematic surveillance. Burkina Faso cannot tolerate the exploitation of its citizens' privacy, its natural resources, or its national security." The international dimension of the discovery has raised immediate concern. The fact that data streams traced directly to Israel were identified in multiple facilities has fueled accusations of long-term infiltration. As a digital agriculture non-governmental organization, in reality, investigators found racks of servers, encrypted routers, and data storage units directly linked to overseas IP addresses traced to Herzliya, Israel. Another site, a low-profile warehouse situated only 2 blocks from the Ministry of Education, was discovered to contain databases holding personal records of nearly 2 million citizens. These files included names, addresses, biometric scans, call logs, and metadata stretching back more than 8 years. Sources confirmed that much of this information had been regularly transmitted through concealed telecom architecture designed to bypass national security filters. Throughout the morning, additional teams reported the seizure of 6 further facilities. Each had been operating under the banner of humanitarian aid, educational partnerships, or digital infrastructure programs. On the surface, they appeared to be legitimate service providers. Inside, however, investigators found sophisticated surveillance hardware, satellite transmission nodes, and classified documents detailing the mapping of mineral reserves. One file in particular matched the coordinates of gold and manganese deposits in Burkina Faso, with identical documents later traced to Tel Aviv. By 8:45 a.m., all 17 locations had been secured. Officials described the raids as surgical, quiet, precise, and carried out without advanced publicity. Civilian casualties were avoided, and government sources confirmed that evidence collected from the sites is now under forensic analysis by national intelligence units. The immediate question posed to authorities was whether these facilities were acting independently or as part of a wider coordinated effort. Early assessments strongly suggest the latter. The level of technical sophistication observed, the encryption protocols used, and the volume of data extracted all point to a structured network rather than isolated activity. Security controlled from abroad. Can sovereignty still exist in practice? For many across the continent, the events in Burkina Faso are being described not just as a military operation, but as the opening chapter of a wider continental confrontation. This is no longer about land or territory alone. It is about digital borders, about who owns the codes, the wires, and the data streams that shape national policy. In this program, we will bring you the full picture. We will examine the targets that were struck in Ouagadougou, the intelligence that was uncovered, the immediate regional response, and the growing diplomatic confrontation with Israel. We will also review how the international media has framed the events and why governments across Africa are now openly debating a doctrine of digital sovereignty, rules designed to ensure that African data remains in Africa. Stay with us as we present verified reports, official statements, and expert analysis. This is not simply another news item. For many, it is a turning point, a moment that may redefine Africa's sovereignty in the 21st century, not on paper maps, but across fiber cables, satellite signals, and the invisible infrastructure of the digital age. If this story moved you, do not let it fade. Say it with me. Africa bows to no one. If your heart beats for Africa's freedom, subscribe and stand with us. We begin tonight with the details of the military operation now referred to as Operation Clearsight. According to official statements from the Burkinabe government, the order was issued at 5 a.m. Last Thursday, at precisely 7 a.m., security forces launched a coordinated strike on 17 separate locations across the capital. The raids were executed simultaneously, leaving little room for resistance or escape. The targets, according to field reports, included a glass-paneled office on the city's eastern edge, which publicly operated. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching this news bulletin. Last Thursday, in the early hours before sunrise, the capital city of Ouagadougou witnessed an operation that stunned observers both at home and abroad. 17 facilities spread across the city were simultaneously raided under the direct orders of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. What appeared from the outside to be aid organizations, development offices, and technology hubs were in fact revealed as nodes in a vast digital espionage network. Within just a few hours, more than 2 million pieces of personal data belonging to Burkinabe citizens were seized and secured by national forces. According to official sources, the data included biometric profiles, call records, and even confidential government communications. The discovery has sent shockwaves across Africa and has raised urgent questions about the scale of foreign involvement in the continent's digital backbone. Much of the scrutiny has turned towards Israel, where Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is alleged to have quietly built, over the last 15 years, what some analysts now describe as a digital empire stretching from Lagos to Nairobi. Reports and intercepted files show how, under the cover of development projects and international aid, Israeli-linked companies embedded themselves into African telecom systems, data centers, and even government offices. Their servers did more than provide connectivity. They copied, intercepted, and transmitted sensitive information abroad. Maps of mineral reserves, minutes of cabinet meetings, and profiles of millions of African citizens were collected without consent, stored offshore, and allegedly shared with corporate and governmental partners overseas.